Welcome, dear friends. Here we are with another Spiritist magazine program here at Kardec Radio. Every Tuesday evening, we bring you one of the articles from one of the issues of the magazine. It's always a blessing and an honor to be with you. Please leave your comments, leave your likes, share. Let's make sure many people can take the advantage of these teachings just like you and I. As a reminder, you can visit spiritistmagazine.org and find the link to the app on the Apple Store and the Google Store. You can find links to download the PDF version of the magazine or even order your physical copy of the magazine. So if you have your app and or the PDF version of the magazine, I invite you to go to issue 63. Issue 63, there's a beautiful message by Meimeithrough that we're going to study today because it's very important that we remind ourselves of where we are, where we're going on the earth. The beautiful spirits bring to us ways to cope, ways to deal with and interact with the world around us, and we're so grateful for Meimeithrough. And this message is by the spirit, by the medium, or through the medium, Francisco Candido Xavier. Without further delay, you're seeing, if you're watching this with the video, I'm just scrolling up and down to get to the message and emphasize a couple of paragraphs at a time. So we want to do a deep dive into the teachings that we have today. Hang in there with me. We'll make this work. All right. So Meimeithrough says, the message is titled Peace and Light, and starts with her saying, difficult days we cross on earth. You're here. Maybe I'll add you say it. And you recall what you know. The news reports the increasing antagonism among society, right? Don't we notice that we are more disagreement with one another? She says, disagreements dominate social classes, complaining about the diplomacy understanding of leaders to end destructive conflicts. Overreactive news alerts from the press release traumatize thousands of people. Don't we have many conflict, destructive conflict on the earth right now? And how many of us complain about the leaders? Rightfully so, right? We're leading. If you're leading something, an organization, a country, we should most definitely not lead them to destructive conflicts, but we want to complain and we want to think about what they're doing to end this conflict. And then what else do we see? I'm not talking just about focused areas of war. There are many different places on the earth right now that are not prominent on the news that still have conflicts with peoples of different ethnicities and backgrounds fighting one another for different resources or for different reasons. And then we have overreactive news alerts, right? We have these guys. I have one. I use it to download books, the Spiritist magazine to check on the news, but I curate to the best of my ability, not perfect. The news that I receive in, I've deleted and stopped many notifications. But then we have these news alerts traumatizing us. We are not there, but we're seeing the destruction. We're seeing the death toll. We're seeing the famine. And it's all traumatizing us, right? Because when you see something, your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and what you see. So you're experiencing those emotions as well. What else does she say? Family disagreements due to what? Impulsiveness of whom? Of us. Assault, mass complaints, disturbance of opinions, natural disasters that concern community life almost all over the world, especially now in this interconnected world where we can reach everybody and everything at a fingertips in seconds. We are being exposed to this. She says all these dark elements coupled with individual problems that we all have, right? Create a psychological dilapidation affecting millions of people in their work or public spaces, establishing an atmosphere of tension that deforms personalities and consumes a large contingent of forces. Because of our yet imperfect nature, we are absorbing this vibrational disarray, not only absorbing it, but also emitting it, right? She's saying here psychological dilapidation of millions of people. So we have this emotional contagion. It's very easy. Negative emotions is very contagious to others. So I feel alert, distressed about a news event, and I start sharing. I start showing it to people. I'm contaminating them now with my desperation, anxiety, fear, so on and so forth. And then we have this large contingent of forces, of strength, of energy, of time that we're wasting, in a way, because we are spending time with this with matters of opinions on things that in 200 years, 1,000 years isn't going to be relevant, while we should work in a framework of service. If we can't go to a workplace, a place that had a natural disaster, a hurricane, a tornado, floods, then we pray for them. We send resources to those who can. We work in our community to eradicate the problems of our community instead of being just, what about me? What about me? Right? And because we are still yet on this imperfect nature of ourselves as we grow and improve to one day be a good spirit, as we learn from the Spirit's book and the different hierarchy of spirits, then we tend to focus on those more negative events that happen around us. It is within this framework that the laws of the Lord engaged us to serve in today's world. So today, mindfulness, presence. We are here to serve. We're not here to just enjoy, travel, do. No, we're here to serve. Many people are unconsciously warned to rebel against nonsense, ready to act out anger or bitterness into strange forms of aggression. That's when we start this mental darts sending to one another. I might not be tweeting, I might not sending messages on X, on Threads, on Instagram. I'm not be calling someone, but I'm thinking about negatively about something or someone, a situation or someone. So what do? We are in a world of trials and expiations. 160 years ago, on April 1864, Allan Kardec published the book Gospel According to Spiritism. In that book, chapter 3, he teaches us, the spirits through Kardec teach us. There are many scales, different hierarchy of worlds, and didactically he gave us 5 of them. We are in the second rung, primitive trials and expiations. And they describe beautifully the characteristics of the inhabitants of the planet, that therefore, so the planet and the society is a sum of all of us. So the inhabitants of the planet have a certain characteristic, the physical forms and the things we experience have a certain characteristics. In the world of trials and expiations, we will experience the things we're seeing today, because those are aspects of us purging our more inferior nature into bringing us to the new man or woman inside of us, as Paul says, right? We leave the old man behind and bring the new in. When we see wars, when we see complaints, when we see the news, those are part of cycles of nature. And then as humans, we learn, we adapt, and most importantly, after you see all of that, you see the outpouring of support and service that many of us are able to extend to one another. That one day, once this planet goes into regeneration, joyful and divine world, there would be none of these. Because in Jupiter, which is a superior world to the planet Earth, in the Spiritist magazine, the spirits teach us that there's none of this changing climate. They don't need hurricanes, volcanoes, flooding. They don't need any of that stuff because the inhabitants of that planet are a higher level. They live to 300 to 500 years. They have their own inner light. They don't need the sun. We need the sun. They use the sun probably in different ways. Their houses are different. Of course it is, because the nature of spirits in those worlds are different. That's why in science we can't yet know of them, because we are not out there in the world looking for things that look different. We're looking for human beings on the earth, human beings with human molecules, with human periodic tables of the world of trials and expiations. So here we have Mei through Chico Xavier bringing to you and I what to do when we feel overwhelmed, when we feel um, flooded with the news and information. First of all, turn off your phone, turn notifications off. You don't need to know what happens on Facebook. Someone liked your picture on Instagram. If CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, or whatever you watch is posting breaking news. The 24 news cycles is not healthy for anybody's mental health. So turn all that off. And then you can say, she says here, anchor yourself in patience and walk, meaning keep moving, because only stagnant water grows foul. No matter what it is, do your best, bless and carry on. So the question is, where are you right now on this planet, and what is God asking you to do? Do it at your best. Bless it and move on. If close the cycle, you move on. Close the cycle and move on. Silence yourself and assist. This is a very important one because everybody nowadays have a platform. You can stream, and I guarantee you, somewhere someone's going to resonate and going to connect with you in the physical. You're going to see that little eye that I can see when you're there, blessing us with your presence. And then the obsessors, the spirits of goodness will inspire them to connect with you depending on what the wavelength we are. So she's saying silence. Do we need to spread this? Do we need to emphasize it? Is it true? Is it helpful? And assist. Instead of criticizing, we help. We help. We help. Remember, the laws of the Lord engage us to serve today. Whatever you are, spread the goodness of what? Of comforting words, and offer the blessing of your smile of peace and fraternity. Friends, if this was easy, May wouldn't need to come tell us. But it's much easier to fall into the lower vibrations of desperation and war and famine and graphic images and complaining and gossiping and so on and so forth than it is to spread comforting words. There are a couple of authors. One of them that comes to mind. Well, first of all, there is messages from Emmanuel in many, including the book Living Spring, about words. In the book Calmness, about what happens to how to speak, and even in the book Courage, about how to say things to people. But in the physical world, people who don't necessarily know Spiritism have published books on how to be a good listener, how to support, and how to help. So we listen to people, we put the attention, it's not a Likert scale. It's either you are attentive or you're not attentive. We stop multitasking because that doesn't exist. Your brain cannot do two things at the same time. So give people 100% of your attention, listen to what they're saying, follow up questions. Don't be a topper. If they bring you a problem or something, we don't say, oh, but when I was young, this happened to me. And so it sounds like I'm trying to connect, but I'm trying to top and shift the attention. So we go back to them. We go back to that person. What do you need? How do you need? So, comforting words and blessing of your smile, peace, and fraternity. So, when you go to the book Jesus in the Home, the author I was mentioning in the physical world, there's that I mentioned this technique that he's explaining of listening, of dialing up your attention, put your phones away, not being a topper, asking questions. That's the author David Brooks, his newest book. He's a columnist, and he's talking about this in how to be a better person, how to interact with others. But in the spiritual literature, you go to the book Jesus in the Home, and go there now if you have it at home. Highlight. Pick a piece of pencil, a highlighter, and you every time Jesus speak, notice how Neil Lucio describes that Jesus is opening his mouth when he intercedes, what kind of words he uses, that he smiles, he's calm and peaceful, his words of comfort, teaching and comforting. So we have the guidance model. We go to the Gospels and we read it. We go to the book Paul and Stephen and we see what the apostles did to help others, the first Christians, right? Smile of peace and fraternity. Everywhere you go today, you're going to do something, you're going to interact with someone, you can bless them with your smile of peace and fraternity. All negative occurrences are byproducts of the darkness of the spirit. So if you're experiencing this on the earth today, it is hard. It doesn't remove the suffering, but there's a reason to be. The law of destruction, for example, in the Spirit's book does talk about natural disasters. And there's another part of the Spirit's book they'll talk about trials, things that we ask for, things we need to experience, evolution, as Andrea Luis says, evolution pain, when we're all growing together. In the whirlwind of shadows, heaven does not ask us to be the stars. That's for the divine worlds and the superior spirits. What is heaven asking us to do? It is enough for each of us to commit ourselves to kindle the ray of light in God's name. So we want to see ourselves as this beacon of light, where everywhere you go, you leave the place more harmonized, more enlightened, not that you're enlightened, but lighter, brighter, kinder, more understanding, more peaceful. So next time you go somewhere, we give and we don't take. So if you're going to places and we feel overwhelmed, it means because we're not committing to kindle this light. We're still allowing ourselves to engage in these emotional contagions. And friends, if like I said, I want to repeat, if it was easier, if it was easy, you and I would be on the other side dictating the messages. And that's why we are on this side reading the message together. It's much easier to fall to the predatory lower vibrations because that's where we dwell most of the time. The lower zones are all around us, so are the good spirits. So we need to make effort and repetition. Effort and repetition. They're always in the book of Evolution to Worlds. So today, I recognize the light inside of me. They can touch someone else. It's much easier to complain about the weather, to complain about the traffic, to complain about the wars and curse people who don't. It's much more difficult to be silent, to assist, to help, and to move on. Committing ourselves to kindle a ray of life in God's name. That is hard. It's all worth it though, but it's hard. Do you want a true example of how to do this in the midst of difficult circumstances? Read the book, Paul and Stephen. You see in this all the work that Paul did to kindle this light every day, the difficulties he went through, the persecution, and how he improved over time. And as a side note, how each one of the apostles did the same to improve so they can. 2,000 years ago, they're already doing it. Today, they're an example to us, and today, one day, will be an example to others. We're already an example to others. But we'll be an example of spreading this light, the calming and the comforting of everything. So this message is from the book. God Awaits by Meimeithrough Xavier, and Vanessa Saloni, our dear friend, Kardec Radio host, and editor of the magazine, has a Facebook page and YouTube channel, Kardec Radio, with a study of this book, where she has different insights, different ideas, and where she reads chapter by chapter and brings it to you and I. So we'll leave you with the thought: be the peace and the light that you want to see in the world today. God willing, dear friends, I'll be back with you next week with another study of the Spiritist magazine. Meanwhile, stay well, stay safe, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.